Yeah, one of the big concert venues. We were doing concerts all over, and even what was the group, Deep Purple or something like that, was our warm-up group in the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam, in Netherlands. So the Roundhouse was the popular place. And so we thought we should have a fire yagya, a fire ceremony. Well, the authorities there didn't think it was a good idea. But we made a very great service. Nothing would be burnt. But as it was, people were going closer to us and was sort of pushing us in the fire. So the fire brigade comes and actually pulls out the fire, takes the whole thing out. I thought, this is crazy, because the group before us broke their guitars. I thought that was crazy. I'm building a fire, but why would somebody break their instruments? You know? So that was at the Roundhouse, and we had many events there. We were popular. Radha Krishna Temple was the name of our group. Being with George was really nice, and John too. But George, you could see, was becoming spiritual by the day. And so we gave him demo tapes of the Hare Krishna mantra and the Brahma Samhita Govindam prayers. And so he said, I'd like to record this, and he produced it themselves. And at that time it was even a risk, because he didn't even have so many tunes on their albums either, because John and Paul had great songwriters, but they didn't recognize him yet. Finally they did Within You, Without You, and Something in the Way, Here Comes the Sun. But George produced this. And so the first Hare Krishna mantra, we did it at Wardour Street Studios, and Paul McCartney was the engineer. And we chanted, we were used to it, and it really came out nicely, even with the gong at the end, and it was very intimate. And at the time, Linda Eastman went to school with me, so she was back there, and I said, we went to high school together, and it was a very wealthy town, and she thought nobody from Scarsdale would become a monk. And I said, why not? Krishna owns Scarsdale too. So she was nice, and Paul was nice, and they produced it. The other one, now there's maybe 40 of us, and this was in Abbey Road. And George was such an excellent producer. He set up the boom mics and everything, and one devotee was playing the trumpet too loud, and he put him in the loo. And he was just excellent. He did the introductory with his guitar, and the Hare Krishna mantra was the fastest selling single of Apple Records. Not the album, but it reached so many countries, Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, before they were Czech Republic. And so that was really fun to do and delightful, and George helped us so many. Then we did on the way to India. Prabhupada wanted me to go to India, and George produced an album, the Radha Krishna Temple, with our prayers on it. And George gave us the funds to go to India because he knew it would sell. Even if it didn't, he gave us the funds first. Yeah, there was a Red Door agency, and I worked with Derek Taylor, their artist and repertoire. He became my great friend. In the Apple offices, hundreds of thousands we'd see every day, hundreds and thousands. And Derek Taylor was my good friend, and somebody dropped a donkey in the Apple offices, and it ended up on Derek Taylor's property, and then it ended up on John Lennon's estate. But at the same time, we're doing tours all over. The Midnight Sun in Sweden. And then we went to the Hamburg, Reeperbahn, where the Star Club, where the Beatles did, the same club. and the Jaguar Club and the Top 10 Club. So we were touring many places with this Red Door agency, and we were selling many recordings, and it was really nice. And then George says, I want to stop doing nonsense songs like Bebop-A-Lula. And then there was a court case that My Sweet Lord, that he was copying it from a group called the Chiffons, and it wasn't. He didn't copy it. It was honorific. So he does My Sweet Lord, and it's beautiful. But he's falling in love with Krishna. He's falling in love with Krishna. And then he tells me one day, Gurudas, I want to, he played this song, something in the way she moves, da da da, like no other lover, something. So Frank Sinatra says that's the best love song of all time. But George told me I was really writing it for Krishna, but if I wrote something in the way he moves excites me like no other lover, people would misunderstand. And he laughed. So he was a good friend. And John, too. John one day says, Gurudas, I want to give peace a chance. I'm going to let my hair grow, him and Yoko. And so there's a thing called Chaita Guru. It enters your intelligence, your heart. So I said, John, peace takes sacrifice. So if you're really interested in this, cut your hair off like me, and then people will see you're interested. Really meaning it. So then I'm walking on Fleet Street a week later, and I saw John and Yoko had these crew cuts. So then John says to me, oh, I'm so famous and everybody wants something. And so I said, your friends really will give you something. They won't take anything. And he says, like you, Gurudas? And then I said, your friends are links of the chain, and the chain is around you tightly, and now you're polishing the chain. It's time to break it. So this was one conversation. Now the same thing with George, we just gave him things, books, whatever, because so many people were taking from them, and their friends, once they got rich, people wanted something. So our philosophy is to just give to George. Now our guru comes here to England, and they say, what have you come to teach us? And he says, I've come to teach what you've forgotten, love of God. So we're just giving to George. But now Prabhupada says, Krishna wrote a book on my shoulders called the Krishna Book, and I would like George to publish it. And he asked Samarshanda, who was George's friend. He was very friendly. And Samarshanda said, well, Prabhupada, we've just been giving to George, and he might not like it if now we're going to ask him for something. As it was, he already volunteered a big slab of marble for our temple, but this was voluntary. And then if we asked, he would think, well, now I gave them something, and just see, now they're like every other who wants something. So Samarshanda told this to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, no, this book is important, but you can make me the bad guy. You can say that I requested it. So they went to David Wynn's house. He was the sculptor laureate. He did the Queen's coins. And they're at dinner. And there was no timing for Samarshanda to do it. He really was disturbed. He didn't want to do it, but his guru ordered him to do it, requested him to do it. A lot of times we thought, oh, this might be really tough, but we went ahead and it worked out because Krishna's there too, Krishna helping us. But this is the way it works. And so finally, Samarshanda asked George at dessert, Prabhupada wants to publish a Krishna book, and it costs £19,000, and he'd like you to do it. And George's face changed, just as Samarshanda thought. He frowned. You could see his mind thinking, no, I thought you were different. At that point, a thunderstorm happened, and David Wynn's house shook, and there was darkness. The lights went out, and David Wynn had a generator. So he does it, pulls the portable generator, it goes on, and the lights go on, and George is smiling, and he's saying, Krishna, must you be so theatrical? Of course I'll do it. And he did. The same thing, another story, in Mayapur, India. I was by my guru's room in the morning, and he comes out, and he said, the farmers, they're asking Krishna, give me water, give me water. And then with his hand he said, and Krishna says, take it. And when he went like that, the skies opened up and water came down immediately. And he didn't even change his expression. I saw so many miracles. Miracle means deviating from the norm, but we deviated from the norm a lot, and that's miraculous.